I never thought I'd be the kind of guy to have my entire world shattered in one afternoon, but that's exactly what happened. It all started with what I thought was a perfect engagement. My fiancée, Lisa, and I had been together for 5 years. We built a life, or at least I thought we had. I'd been planning our wedding, imagining our future, trying not to get ahead of myself, but honestly I was close to thinking this was forever. The night before the party, Lisa was unusually tense. She kept pacing around the apartment, fiddling with her phone, her face tight like she was holding back something she didn't want me to see. I asked her if she was okay, and she just waved me off, saying she was stressed with work. I bought it. Stress can do crazy things to a person, and I figured maybe she was overwhelmed. The engagement party was supposed to be fun, a celebration of us, our friends and family. I was proud of how everything looked: balloons, a big banner, and a buffet set up in my backyard. But I noticed Lisa was distracted all evening. She kept glancing at her phone and occasionally making excuses to step away. Her laughter sounded forced when she talked to her friends, and she kept giving me these little nervous glances that I brushed off as her nerves. It wasn't until I took a break to get some air that I stumbled across something that turned my stomach. I saw her phone glowing on the patio table. Curiosity got the better of me. I walked over, thinking maybe she was just scrolling through messages or photos. But what I saw made my breath catch. There were texts flirty, intimate, and way too familiar. I could see her typing, then a reply from someone I recognized immediately: Jake, my best friend since college. The message exchange was blatant. They were planning to meet up later that night, talking about how stressful the party was and how much they needed to unwind. My heart pounded so hard I thought I'd throw up. My fingers trembled as I scrolled further. There were pictures, too. One of her leaning into him in a hotel lobby, her hand on his chest, lips curled in a smile that looked more like a sneer to me now. The words hotel receipts hit me like a punch. I didn't even need to look further. I already knew what I'd find. I closed her phone quick and backed away, my mind racing. The world seemed to tilt. I could hear the buzz of the party in the background, laughter, glasses clinking, people chatting, but it all sounded distant, muffled. My stomach twisted, not with anger, but with that cold, hollow feeling of betrayal. All those promises, all that love I thought was real, erased in a single moment. I knew deep down that this wasn't a mistake. It was intentional. She'd been hiding something from me the whole time, and I'd been too blind or too naive to see it. Now everything made sense: the tension, her nervousness, the way she kept fidgeting. She'd been lying right to my face all night. I stayed there on the patio, clutching her phone, feeling the weight of it. The air was thick with the scent of the garden and that sharp sting of betrayal. My palms were sweaty, and I felt an icy numbness crawl up my spine. I didn't cry. I just stood there, watching everything unfold in my mind. How she'd crossed the line, how my best friend had betrayed me, how I'd been so stupid to trust them. When I finally went back inside, I faced her across the room. Her eyes darted away when I looked at her. I wanted to scream, but all I did was hold out her phone. "Explain this," I said, voice thick with fury. "How long has this been going on?" She froze, her face pale. "It's not what you think, it was just stress." "Stop," I cut her off. "I saw the hotel receipts. You and Jake, how long?" She tried to deny it, but I saw the truth in her eyes. That moment marked the end of my patience. I knew I had to come up with a plan. She betrayed me not just once, but in the worst way possible, and I wasn't going to let this slide, not without consequences. Now I had to decide what kind of revenge made sense, but first I had to get everything in order. I needed proof, a clear plan, and the guts to see it through, because if she thought this was just going to blow over, she was dead wrong. And so I stayed awake that night, staring at the ceiling, planning my move. The pieces were in place. I knew what I had to do. I just didn't know how cruel I'd be willing to go. Yet, the next morning hit like a punch to the gut. I barely slept, tossing and turning, replaying everything in my mind. The sneaking suspicion, the moment I found her phone, the hotel receipts. My stomach still clenched every time I thought about it all. The worst part, the look in her eyes when I confronted her. That guilty, panicked glance that said she knew she'd been caught, yet she refused to own it. I got up, my head pounding, and started piecing together what I was going to do next. I knew I couldn't just explode, not yet. I needed to keep my cool, gather more evidence, and formulate a plan that left her no room to deny or wiggle out of it. I didn't want a messy fight at the party. I wanted her to realize she was about to lose everything if she didn't come clean. I went straight to my laptop and started searching for hotel details, dates, times, locations, everything I could get from the receipts. The hotel was in a nearby city, a place I visited once or twice for work, but I'd never been there myself. I looked up the address and cross-checked it with online reviews and photos. It was an upscale place, not some cheap motel. They'd splurged. My mind was racing. I needed to know more about Jake, too. I searched our social media circles, nothing too revealing, but I knew from mutual friends that Jake had been going through a rough patch. That didn't matter now. What mattered was that Lisa and Jake had lied to me, betrayed me, and I had enough to make sure they paid. I decided I had to find out exactly when they'd been there. So I called the hotel, pretending to be a guest interested in booking a last-minute stay. I played it cool, asking for reservation details, dates, times, who checked in. The staff was helpful, and I got confirmation that Lisa and Jake had checked in on a Saturday night, staying for a few hours, then leaving early the next morning. The receipts matched. When I hung up, I felt a strange calm settle over me. This wasn't about anger anymore. It was about setting the stage for revenge. I wanted her to see that I had all the pieces, that I knew exactly what she'd done. I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of denial anymore. She'd already lost her lies, and I'd make sure she lost her trust, and more, if I had my way. I spent the next couple of hours carefully drafting what I'd do. I knew I'd need to make her believe I wasn't just hurt. I had to make her feel exposed, vulnerable, and maybe even a little guilty. I planned to send her a message during the party, something vague enough to shake her but not so obvious that she'd suspect I knew everything. I wanted her to think I was still clueless, still trusting for the moment. Meanwhile, I kept her phone with me. I wanted to see how she acted, what she said, how she tried to cover her tracks. She was already nervous, I could tell. Her eyes kept darting around, and she was trying to pretend nothing was wrong. I watched her from a distance, feeling a strange sense of satisfaction. She was cracking, and I was just getting started. Just before the party resumed, I approached her and casually said, "Hey, Lisa, can I talk to you for a second?" My voice was even cold enough to make her stiffen. She looked at me with worry, a flicker of guilt in her eyes. "Sure," she said, voice strained. "I just want to say I appreciate all the effort you put into tonight. It means a lot," I said, keeping my tone calm but deliberate. "But I've been doing some thinking about us, about trust." Her face paled further. "What are you talking about?" "Oh, I think you know exactly what I mean," I said, pulling out her phone. "I found this last night, and I've confirmed the hotel details. I know everything, how long this has been going on, where you've been sneaking off to." Her mouth opened, then closed. She looked like she wanted to say something, but no words came out. "You fooled me for a while, Lisa, but I'm not stupid. Not anymore," I said, voice low and deliberate. "You can try to deny it, but the truth's out now. And trust me, I will make sure everyone finds out if I have to." She looked like she wanted to run, but I blocked her path. "What's done is done. I want out, and I'm not going to let this slide." She was trembling, and I knew I'd hit a nerve. That moment, I felt a strange mixture of satisfaction and cold resolve. I was not going to let her cheat and walk away, not without consequences. The revenge I had in mind wasn't just about revenge for the betrayal, but about making sure she'd never forget what she'd done. And as I watched her stumble, trying to come up with an excuse, I realized this was only the beginning. The pieces were set, the warning given. Now all I had to do was execute the plan and make sure she understood that her lies had consequences. Next, I'd reveal everything, step by step. And the fallout would be something she'd never forget. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut with a knife. I saw the panic flare in her eyes. She knew she'd been caught, and now she was scrambling to save her skin. But I wasn't about to let her off the hook that easily. I wanted her to feel the full weight of what she'd done, and I was determined to make her regret ever crossing that line. I kept my voice steady but cold. "Look, Lisa, I've seen enough. I don't need your explanations. What I need now is for you to understand that there are consequences. You lied to me, cheated on me, and betrayed our relationship. And I won't just forget about it. not without showing you that I'm serious." Her face was pale, her hands trembling. "It's not what it looks like." "Oh, I think it is," I interrupted, stepping closer. "You and Jake, you're more than just friends, aren't you? How long has this been going on? A month, too?" She hesitated, then looked away, silent. That was all the confirmation I needed. I could feel the anger bubbling, but I kept it under control. This was the moment I'd been planning for. I had to be strategic. "Fine," I said slowly. "You want to know what I'm going to do? You're going to leave tonight. Pack your things and go. You're not welcome here, not anymore." She blinked as if that was the last thing she expected. "Please don't do this. I didn't mean for it to get this far. I was stressed and—" "Stop," I snapped. "You were stressed, huh? That's what you told me last night, but I saw through it. I saw everything clearly now. You've been sneaking around, lying and playing me for a fool, and I'm done." Her voice cracked. "What are you going to do? Tell everyone?" "Wouldn't be a bad idea," I said coldly. "But I've got something better in mind." I reached into my pocket and pulled out the hotel receipts, showing them to her. "You're not just cheating, you're reckless, you're careless, and I want everyone to see the kind of person you really are." She looked like she wanted to say more, but I cut her off. "You're leaving tonight, and when you do, I want you to know that I'm not going to pretend this never happened. I'll be telling everyone, including your closest friends, what kind of betrayal this was, and you'll have to live with that shame." Her eyes welled up with tears, but I didn't care. If I'd learned anything, it's that some people only understand pain, and I was going to make sure she understood exactly how much she'd hurt me. I stepped back and looked at her one last time. "Pack your stuff. Don't bother trying to explain. I already know everything I need to. You've lost me, Lisa, and I won't be coming back." She nodded silently, her shoulders shaking. I saw her wipe her eyes and reach for her purse. I didn't bother to stop her. I already knew this was the end. As she left the room, I felt a strange mix of relief and emptiness. I'd done what I could. I'd set the stage for the fallout. Now it was just a matter of waiting for her to leave and watching everything fall apart around her. I sat down on the couch, feeling my fists clench involuntarily. My fingers were trembling. The betrayal was so deep, it felt like someone had ripped out my insides. But I also felt a strange sense of clarity. I'd taken control. I'd made her see that she couldn't get away with this. Later that evening, I sat in the living room, my phone buzzing nonstop. Friends, family, mutual acquaintances, everyone was getting a version of what had happened. I wanted her to know that I was serious, that I'd expose her if necessary. That's when I started crafting the final part of my plan. I knew I had to send a message, not just a vague accusation, but a clear, undeniable proof. I had to make her regret ever crossing me, and I had to do it publicly. I opened my email draft and started typing, each word deliberate. I was going to send everything, the receipts, the photos, the details. And then I'd watch her crumble under the weight of her own secrets. She thought she could cheat, lie, and walk away. But I was about to prove her wrong. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about reclaiming my dignity and making damn sure she understood what she'd lost. I'd give her a taste of her own medicine, an ending she'd never forget. And as I pressed send, I felt a cold satisfaction. I was finally in control of the story, and she was about to find out just how far I was willing to go. Next, I'd reveal everything, step by step, and the fallout would be something she'd never forget. The moment I hit send on that email, a strange calm settled over me. I'd uploaded all the evidence, the hotel receipts, the photos from the lobby, the texts she'd tried to hide. It felt like setting a trap, and I knew she'd eventually step into it. The plan was simple but ruthless. I wanted her to see that I had all the proof and I was willing to use it. I watched my phone for the next couple of hours, waiting for the inevitable. I figured she'd be frantic, trying to cover her tracks or maybe even deny everything. Honestly, I didn't care. I knew what I had done, what I'd shared, and that was enough. It wasn't long before her phone started ringing off the hook. First a few texts, then full-on barrage. I stayed out of sight, letting her stew in her own chaos. I could hear her pacing around the apartment, swearing under her breath, her voice rising in frustration. I knew she must have realized the game was up. Finally, she picked up her phone and looked at me with wide, panicked eyes. "You sent it," she whispered. "Yeah," I said with a cold smile. "I did. I want you to." Understand, you can't pretend you didn't do this. Everyone's gonna see the truth now. She sank onto the couch, her hands trembling as she stared at her screen. I could see tears prick her eyes, but I didn't feel any pity. If anything, I felt a strange sense of power. This was what I'd been building to her downfall, piece by piece. "Why are you doing this?" she choked out, voice cracking. I didn't mean for it to go this far. "Because I deserve more than a partner who cheats and lies," I said. "You think you can just get away with sneaking off to a hotel with my best friend? No way, not anymore." She looked up at me, her face blank with shock and remorse. "It's not what you think." "Oh, I think I have enough to go on," I interrupted. "I saw the receipts, I saw the photos, I know everything. You thought you could hide it forever, but not anymore." Her voice broke. "Please don't do this." I was stressed, overwhelmed. "Stop," I snapped. "Stress doesn't make you cheat on me with my best friend. That's just you being selfish and careless. You wanted to mess around and now everyone's going to know, including your family." She looked like she wanted to crawl into a hole. "I never wanted to hurt you. Too late," I said coldly. "You already did." The room fell into dead silence. Her face was drained of color, her tears streaming down her cheeks. I felt nothing but a cold, distant resolve. I'd come to this point because I refused to be played for a fool anymore. She forced my hand. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. "Look, I'm done. I don't want to see you again, not after this. You've lost everything. Trust, respect us. I'm done pretending." Her voice was barely a whisper. "Where do we go from here?" "Nowhere," I said flatly. "You've made your choice, and I'm making mine. I'll be moving out tomorrow, and I'm telling everyone what really happened. I want the world to see what kind of person you've become." I turned away, feeling a strange mixture of relief and rage. I knew this was just the beginning of whatever fallout was coming, but I was done waiting. I had to send one final message, something that would make sure she'd remember this for the rest of her life. I reached for my phone and started crafting an email to some mutual friends and family members. I kept it concise but loaded with the truth. I attached all the evidence, screenshots, receipts, everything. I wanted to make sure she understood I wasn't bluffing. As I hit send, a weight lifted off my chest. I'd finally taken back control. I knew she'd be furious, humiliated, and probably trying to spin her own version of events. But it didn't matter. The truth was out, and I had all the proof I needed. This was the moment I'd been building toward. The fallout was about to begin, and I'd make damn sure she never forget it. Because betrayal like this doesn't just go away quietly. It leaves scars. And I planned to make sure she felt every single one of them. Next, I would watch her crumble, and I knew I'd never look at her the same way again. The game was over, and I was only just starting to fight back. The days that followed felt like walking through fog. I kept my phone close, waiting for the storm to break. Sure enough, the fallout was immediate. Within hours, I started getting messages from friends, family, mutual acquaintances, people I hadn't even spoken to in years. They had seen the posts, the evidence I'd shared, and their reactions were predictable. Some were furious on my behalf, others stunned, and a few said they never saw it coming. Lisa's phone rang constantly. I could hear her trying to block calls, but she wasn't hiding anymore. Her face had that pale, hollow look of someone who knew the jig was up. It was obvious she was trying to spin her story, deny, justify, anything to save what little face she had left. But I knew better. I'd already seen her true colors. One afternoon, she cornered me in the kitchen, her eyes red and swollen. "Please just listen. I'm done," I said, cutting her off. "You had your chance. You betrayed me, and now everyone knows. I don't care what you say anymore." Her voice cracked. I was stressed, overwhelmed. "I didn't mean for it to get this far." "You didn't mean. You cheated on me with my best friend and lied to my face." "That's not stress, that's you being a selfish, careless idiot," I snapped. "You wanted to play with fire and now you're burning. I'm not sticking around to watch you try to weasel out of this." She looked at me, tears streaming down her face, voice trembling. "What are you going to do now?" I felt a cold, hard resolve inside me. "I'm done with this whole scene. I'm moving out tomorrow. I'll be telling everyone the truth, and I don't want to see you again. Not ever." She tried to reach for my hand, desperate. "Please don't do this. I love you." "Love? You're kidding, right?" I scoffed. "You just threw everything away for some meaningless fling. And I'll make damn sure everyone knows how you really are, how you really treat people." I turned and walked out, leaving her standing there crying. Every step away from her felt like shedding a heavy weight I'd carried for too long. I was finally free from her lies, her betrayal, her manipulations. It was like the air was clearer, sharper, brighter somehow. That evening I sat on the couch, staring at my phone. I knew the fallout was just beginning. I'd sent out that email with all the evidence, and it was only a matter of time before everyone responded. I didn't care whether they believed her or me. I just wanted the truth out there. I was tired of hiding, tired of pretending I didn't see what was right in front of me. Meanwhile, Lisa's social media accounts were blowing up. Friends she'd known for years were messaging her, angry and disappointed. I saw some of her closest friends unfollow her, and I knew the damage control was in full swing. She tried to post some vague apology, but it looked hollow, forced. Everyone knew better. That night I finally allowed myself to breathe. It felt like I'd just gone through a war emotionally, mentally, physically. My stomach was still tight, my palms sweaty from the adrenaline, but I was finally rid of her. Or so I thought. Still, I wondered, was I really done? Or was this just the beginning of a long, painful cleanup? Either way, I knew one thing for sure: I'd taken back my dignity. I'd put my foot down and I'd made her face the consequences. That's what matters now. Moving forward, I'd rebuild from this, but I'd never forget what she did. Never. And that's when I realized something even more important: I deserved better. Because a partner who lies, cheats, and manipulates isn't worth fighting for. Not anymore. Not after everything I'd seen and proven. I was finally free to choose myself, and that honestly was the biggest victory of all. The days turned into weeks, and the dust finally started settling. I'd moved out, cut off contact, and watched as her carefully constructed world crumbled around her. It was surreal to think just how quickly everything had changed. I still felt that cold ache in my chest every now and then, like a phantom limb, missing what I thought I had, what I believed was real. But every time I remembered the lies, the hotel receipts, the betrayal, that ache was replaced with a hard, bitter clarity. I'd be lying if I said it was easy. There were nights I replayed the whole thing, questioning if I'd done the right thing, whether I'd overreacted. But deep down, I knew I hadn't. I'd caught her in the act, had the proof to back it up, and I'd refused to be a fool anymore. Her actions said everything about her character, and I refused to be part of that anymore. Looking back, I realize how many red flags I ignored: her distraction, her nervousness, the way she kept dodging my questions. I've been so wrapped up in our future, so caught up in trying to make everything perfect, I missed the signs that she was already slipping away. I was blinded by love, but that love was an illusion. Now I see clearly. I've had to rebuild a lot, emotionally and mentally. Trust is a fragile thing, and this experience definitely shattered mine. Still, I choose to see it as a lesson. I learned that I deserve honesty and respect, and I won't settle for anything less again. I've cut out the toxicity, cleaned house, and started focusing on myself. It's strange how a betrayal like this can strip away everything you thought was solid, but in doing so, it forces you to find strength you didn't know you had. The most surprising part: the way people responded. Friends I hadn't spoken to in ages reached out, offering support or sharing their own stories of betrayal. Some of her friends distanced themselves, which was expected. It's funny how the truth has a way of revealing people's true colors. The ones who stood by me, who believed in me without question, that's who I'll keep close. And Lisa, I don't know where she is now, and honestly, I don't care. Her life is her consequence. I hope she feels the weight of her choices, what she lost, what she threw away. Because in the end, it's not just about revenge. It's about reclaiming what was stolen. My dignity, my trust, my self-respect. She tried to ruin me, but I came out stronger. I still think about that night, how everything changed in a matter of moments. I think about the feeling of betrayal, the cold fury that fueled my plan. But more than that, I think about what I've gained: clarity, resilience, a new perspective. I refuse to let her define me anymore. This was her mistake, not mine. So here's my advice: trust your instincts. Don't ignore the red flags, no matter how much you love someone or how much you want things to work out. When someone shows you who they are, believe it. Don't wait for the proof to pile up, trust your gut. And if you catch them in lies or betrayal, don't be afraid to stand your ground. Revenge isn't about hurting them, it's about taking back your power. It's about showing yourself that you're worth more than their lies. I'll never forget what I went through. It's made me wiser, more cautious, but also more hopeful. Because I know now that I'm capable of walking away from someone who doesn't deserve me. And that's the biggest lesson I'll carry forward. In the end, I filed my paperwork, handed over the keys, and started my new chapter. The pain will fade, the scars will heal, and I'll keep moving forward. Because I've learned that true strength isn't about how much you can take, it's about how you bounce back. And I'm ready to do just that.